Hello, welcome to the Brothers Judah. I'm Joshua.
Hi, I'm Jeremy. Welcome.
And today, do you have I kind of have something I think we should talk about, but...
Okay. What I have, I don't really want to talk about now.
Mhm.
I want to talk about in future episodes.
Okay.
So maybe at the end, we can, though we'll probably be talking, maybe I should do mine first. We're going to run out of time. We usually do. So why don't I say what I'd like the next few episodes to possibly be
Okay.
about,
Mhm.
and then we can get into your topic.
Yeah, okay.
So what I was thinking about is, you had texted me mentioning a sin that you considered a sin, but for me, I know we've had discussions. It's kind of like one of the few things we disagree about. So I was thinking maybe we can go over the 7 deadly sins, do one per week, and the week up to the episode, we can think about that, think about it all week. How are we failing in that? The struggles, why is it a sin? Stuff like that. And we can go through one sin an episode and discuss the sin. Why is it an actual sin? How we struggle with it, how we maybe succeed in stopping it, things like that.
I think that's a good idea. Definitely. We could do a little sub-series kind of.
Okay, so the only thing with that is we'd have to maybe pick the first sin to do.
I'd have to look them up. I don't even remember them all. So
Okay.
we'll do a little research.
Okay, well, then next time we're probably just going to start with one of them.
Yeah.
So, but for this episode, what would you like to talk about?
Well, I'm thinking it might be our civic duty to speak out about the election because it's getting down to the wire, and I think it's pretty significant. And I feel like if we don't speak out, then we have no right to complain if we get enslaved later on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a challenging topic.
Yeah.
It's going to divide and probably upset people.
Well, I think we could talk about it in a neutral way. I mean,
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I mean,
We
it's probably going to be clear maybe which way we side or which
I think
way
it's
we're
going to be
leaning.
clear which, I think just raising the issue of a problem with the election makes it clear what side we're on. But I think if people, this is above party politics, and I think if people really care about this country and care about the truth, I think there should be open discussion about it.
I'm fine talking about whatever topic you'd like. If it's very challenging, it's still okay. I think one concern I have is I want to make sure that if I am opening my mouth and I am speaking on a topic, I want to make sure I'm at least confident that I'm knowledgeable enough where I can speak up. And for this, I have feelings and stuff, but I don't have hard facts and data where I can say, oh, on this date this happened, and on this date this happened, and so I want to, one, be credible, and two, also make sure that I'm eligible.
I agree, and I want to know the truth. I'm not I just want my side to win. I want to know the truth, and I want
Absolutely.
We can talk about it generally from a philosophical perspective.
Yeah, I prefer that. So
yeah.
All right, let's do it.
All right. Well, I think one thing that's odd to me is I've seen certain video evidence
Okay.
about the election,
Okay.
and the media is basically saying there is no evidence from what I've seen in some of the headlines.
So yeah, I feel like maybe we should start a little more back and more philosophical,
general?
more general. That's
Okay.
almost more of a specific. I think we should maybe start with to welcome both sides into the conversation. We should talk about, as you mentioned, we just want the truth and we want what's best. And I know everyone watching does as well, and everyone who's not watching does as well.
Yeah.
So we're not trying to just take team sides.
Yeah.
If there was something that went on either side with the election, any type of manipulation or any type of, that's what we want to get to.
Yeah, so regardless of what side we're on, we want a fair election in this country. We want, we want a democracy where the people can vote and have a say in who's governing them. And we should want that regardless of which side we're on.
Yeah, exactly.
We should want one person, one vote.
Yes.
We should want the votes to be counted fairly. That's all seems like it should be common sense. Some people on either side might want to fight unfair just so their side wins. And I think some of that does go on in politics. But I think the majority of people, whatever side of the aisle they're on, want the truth.
Yeah. Yeah. Truth and a fair fight. Yeah.
Yeah. So if there is some question about an election, wouldn't we want to look at that and say, is there anything to this? Like, is
I absolutely agree, and I think let's just use A, B. So let's say I was on side A and you were on side B. You know, I wanted A to win, you wanted B to win. If someone brought, or even not a person, if I just saw that there's a potential that B interfered with the election, I would want more information about it. But I would also, and I think equally, want to know if A did as well. Even though I'm on his side, if it wasn't a true election, if there was foul play, I want to know that as well. So I don't think it has to be sides.
like, I want the truth. Like, I'm loyal to I'm not loyal to a political side. I think God and the truth is above politics. And it's like when you're a kid and you're playing a game. It's like you want to win because you're better at the game, not because you're cheating. Like, you know what I mean? It's like you want to play fair and you want to win on your own merits.
Yes,
and it's like
exactly. Speaking of, I was gonna say, speaking of that, I always use this analogy where if I'm doing something, let's just say playing basketball, I'm playing against a bunch of 5-year-olds. I might win, but I might have a horrible game myself. I might be missing shots. I might be messing up. I might be going backwards in my actual skill, or I could be playing against the best of the best. Michael Jordan in his prime, and lose. But I would much rather play Michael Jordan in his prime and lose than, I mean, obviously there's fun playing with kids.
Yeah.
But in terms of progressing in a certain skill.
Or what if you're playing someone equally matched and someone paid them off to let you win? Are you going to feel great about the win?
That's another perfect example.
We want the truth.
Yeah.
I think people. I think most good people want the truth.
Yeah, I agree.
Regardless of what side someone's on, like, if there's questions, like, we live in an innocent till proven guilty society, right?
Yes.
Like, and if there's questions and if there's evidence, which I've seen video evidence, people could argue that they were fabricated, but that's not what they're saying. Like, no one's saying, oh, those videos are fabricated. They're just saying there's no evidence.
They're just not even.
They're not acknowledging that there is any evidence.
Yeah. Well, that's the selection that the media has. They can select what gets presented to us.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we talked about is the media biased in a previous video, and then we tried to do advertising on that video, and it got squashed.
Yeah.
And I don't think our previous video was shocking at all. So
well, we're honestly seeking the truth. Like, I'm not here like on a pulpit like, this is what happened. I'm like, I'm concerned. What's the truth here?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
we're approaching it from like a neutral place.
Yeah.
And like, the media isn't the arbiter of truth. And owners of big tech aren't the arbiters of truth. Like, truth is the truth. It just is what it is,
It really bothers me, and I'm guilty of this in my life too, but it really bothers me when people ignore the truth and try to doctor the truth or misrepresent the truth for a personal motivation. Like I want this, so I'll. Like, it's stealing whether or not I reach into a cash register and take it out of the store without him saying or knowing. And it's still stealing if I manipulate him into accidentally giving me an extra $20. Like, they're both stealing. They're both wrong.
Yeah.
And I think it becomes a gray area where people think it's not that bad. And I'm still telling the truth, but
or they could justify, like, oh, the other candidate is so bad, I have to fight unfair for a greater good. Like,
yes,
there's a lot of rationalization.
What is it? The means outweigh basically the result is
the ends outweigh the means.
Yes,
yeah,
that's it. Perfect.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, it's just hard. Like, it's hard to reconcile because I've seen testimony, firsthand witness testimony, which in our justice system, a firsthand witness, it's not hearsay, so the firsthand witness testifying under oath is evidence.
Yeah.
I've seen video surveillance.
Speaking of that, someone I know, someone related to them, wanted to post a video, a link to, it It was either I think it was a link to the video. It wasn't an edited video. It was just a video of someone testifying at some hearing, and social media took it down.
Yeah.
There was no comment along with it. It was just like, oh, hey guys, watch this, and they took it down. When that's that's like videotaping a court hearing and the technology, the social media company taking it down.
Yeah, and it's like we're supposed to live in a free speech society. Like, that's a constitutional right. And like, who are the owners of these corporations to decide what's true?
What's amazing too is, as I watched a video you sent me, the guy, I think it was at the end or in the middle, he said, imagine if they were doing this and the media didn't show you, right? How you were saying there's video evidence and the media is just not talking about it.
Yeah.
Right? If there weren't the other outlets that haven't been censored yet, how would you even know that it was going on?
Well, this is the problem.
If you only know what you see in your phone and you see in your screen, and these people are controlling what you see, then how do you know it's real? I mean, now we can't even really talk to people. We can't go into the, with what else is going on in this year.
Yeah.
Our connection, our human connection is breaking. So now we're there. It's almost like we're being forced to rely on the screens and what information they present to us even more, because we're not able to sit and have conversations like this with people.
Yeah. And also the media. So like, let's just say election polls, right? And regardless of what side you're on, let's say the other candidate, the media is saying, oh, they're polling way ahead, right? Whether or not that's true, if the mainstream media is saying that, it's almost like people's kind of like feeling of whether or not he's going to win affects like whether or not they even want to vote or who they want to vote for. There's some peer pressure, like, oh, most people want this person. Like, it kind of sways the feeling of the mass perception.
Perfect example. I know people that live in a certain state that always, tends to vote one direction. And I've had many people say, people that wanted to vote the opposite say, oh, it's pointless to vote. I live in this state.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's like they're not voting because they think that state's always going to go, so it's worthless. But now imagine if the media said, it's really close, right? Oh, they might go, oh, it's really close, even though I've been in X state all along. It might, my vote might matter. So you're absolutely right. What they say to us affects us, and even if we don't think it does, it persuades us a little bit.
Yeah, and if that person is kind of just accepts what they, the mainstream media is the only information they get, and they just accept it at face value, then they're just going to believe, like, it's almost like the will of the people is what decides the election, like whether or not there's fraud.
Yeah.
Whether or not one candidate won or the other candidate won, what regardless of the truth, it's like the will of the people and their consent is what ultimately decides.
Yeah.
So it's like if what so many people are seeing is presented as like, oh, there's no question, there's no evidence, this is the winner. It's almost like the media is deciding.
Yeah.
And then when there's a large percentage this year, which is rare. This is unusual that a large percentage, this is probably the first time in American history this has happened. How are we supposed to move forward as a society if a large percentage of the population doesn't believe it was a legitimate election? And why isn't the other side concerned or wanting to address that? Like,
I think the side that doesn't want to address it, I think their side, say is winning. So it's kind of like the example where I said whether it was A or B, even though I was on side A, if there was fraud or interference, I would want to know as well.
Yeah.
It's easy to not want to know because there's a risk of now your side losing. And I think people seek what they want. They're seeking what they want over the truth. And what we need is to seek the truth regardless of whether or not it's what you want.
Yeah. And that's a big concern. And I think whoever's listening to this, whether they're on one side or the other, like, we should be really concerned about our democracy and freedom and the truth. And because even if their candidate wins, if one person's candidate wins and it was unfair, then that basically means, like, then there can't be any fair elections ever again.
Or
Like
they might
it's-
be happy that it's their side now, but what about the next time when it's
Yeah.
not their side? I mean, it's
Yeah.
so it's yeah, and I don't. I hope that anybody who happens to be watching who is on, say, the other side that they think that we are on. I hope that they recognize that we know that they just want what's best too. We might have different opinions on what's best, and I hope they don't think that our opinions are for poor reasons. I know sometimes people try to persuade people to think that, oh, the reason they want that is because of this. They're evil, or they that, or they this, or they're greedy, or whatever term they're using.
Well, my best friend from childhood, one of my best friends, is on the opposite side. He's actually a Christian and a pretty good guy, and it's really hard for me to reconcile. But he's on the opposite side of the aisle for me in terms of this election. And he told me, he's like, I want one vote, one person, one vote. Like, I want this to be a fair election. And I'm like, okay. So I've seen this video evidence. Like, no evidence is not an answer to me. Like, just saying, like, for someone who's seen the evidence, just saying there's no evidence is not an answer. Like there needs to be some reconciliation. There has to be some, it has to get addressed. And I don't see,
So we're running out of time now, unfortunately. And I feel like you and I both agree that there's a problem.
Yeah.
And that it's not being addressed. So maybe now we should talk about solutions and how can it become addressed? How do we I mean, if there is something going on, how do we have both sides seek the truth and want to know if there really was something going on and be open to that? And
I mean, I don't think there's anything we can do to make other people want to seek the truth. I think it's important that people speak the truth. I wanted to do in this episode, but I think as an individual, like, I know that God's plan will be done, even if it's not what I want, or even if I don't understand it. And I know that confidently. And even if it's a candidate that's going to cause more harm, ultimately it's going to be for the greater good, for God's will. Like, ultimately God's will be done, even if there's a shorter period of
shorter
of something that's not
pain.
Good. Yeah. So I'm confident in that. And then as an individual, it's like, I don't know. I don't know what the solution is, other than to try to talk about it and be honest and seek the truth myself, and pray. And
I think one thing that we can do is, when we are talking with the other side, really watch ourselves, watch our emotions, it's very easy for us to think the motives of the other side. It's really easy to think, oh, that other side, oh, they're this, or they're dumb, or they're evil, or they're whatever. We really have to keep it calm and know they just want, everyone just wants what's best for themselves and their family and their friends and the world. Like, we just have different opinions on how to get there, and we have different perceptions and different ideas of, the truth. We have we're looking at everything, and we've been exposed to different information, so we all have a different cognitive picture of the world and the truth. So I think nice discussion, kind of almost like the way we were discussing it. I would love to have this type of discussion with someone on the other side, someone who said, "Oh no, the opposite."
Well, we should do an episode on the money system, because we disagree about that. And we should try to model that, like a healthy discussion.
I like it. Maybe we should put the 7 deadly sins off.
We could
put that off. I like that topic.
Yeah.
All right. That sounds good.
All right. Well, I hope this was eye-opening and a positive influence. And we want what's best, and we know you do too. So God bless you.
Take care.